How's it going, YouTube? Don here. In this video, I'm going to tell you the best ways to prevent yourself from getting laid off. Now, in spite of all the layoffs that have been happening over the industry lately, I thought I'd just make a video outlining some of the tips and tricks that I have for you so that you don't get laid off. Now, this comes from both the fact that I have been laid off before at a tech company and coming from a business perspective. Now, before I preface this video, I want to be very clear with you. So, being laid off is, for the most part, not really in your control. However, there are things that you can do to ensure that the likelihood that you're going to get laid off is a lot less. Now, what's the reason why I tell you this? The reason why I tell you this is most layoff decisions are usually made by either an algorithm or behind closed doors by executives in the organization. So unless you're an executive inside of this organization, you really have no influence over the particular layoffs that are going to happen at whatever company that you work for. But there are a couple factors that I want to share in this video that will help you reduce the likelihood that you will get laid off. So let's talk about the first one. What product or thing that you're actually working on. So what do I mean by this? Well, it comes down to what product that you're actually working on and what is its relevance to the company in terms of profit. Because at the end of the day, unless you're working for the government, you're working for a corporation that makes money. So what you want to do is you want to align yourself and your skill set to whatever the company's core business product is and what makes them the majority of their revenue. So for example, at your modern tech company, there are many different divisions. There are many different products that your company will be actively working on, but there are going to be a select few company or products out there that make the majority of the revenue and that have been relatively stable over the last 10-20 years. So I'll give you an example here. Let's say that you are working at Google, right? Google makes most of their money from ads and search engine optimization. A big proponent of them is going through ads and going through having good SEO and ranking on the search engines, right? The search engine, especially coming from a digital marketing background, has been a staple since the early 2000s. So if you're working in that kind of SEO type of field, you know that for the most part, you are pretty safe. Now, it is kind of difficult to succeed in that industry simply because you have to have a big background in data structures and algorithms. But if you want to ensure job security, that's something to keep in mind. Now again, this is no guarantee that you're not going to get laid off, but this is a good way to ensure that, if you're working on a product that's not core to the business, for example, then you should be on red alert at that point. For example, let's take the Google example again, and let's just say that you're working on, Google, I don't even know, some random Google product that is kind of a side project. You should be really keeping an eye out for that, Another thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you're an expert in your field and that you can show that your manager that you're producing good work that's directly contributing to the revenue goals of the business. Now, what is this going to do for you? This is going to ensure that you're an asset to the company that makes the money, right? So that is something that you want to keep in mind from a position perspective. Now let's talk a little bit about industry and company. So when it comes to industry and company, you want to find a company that hires very lean. Over the past, I've been watching kind of the tech scene over time, and I've seen the companies that tend to run a tight ship and tend to be very frugal with their finances, tend to be the companies that tend not to do mass layoffs, right? So what are some examples of these type of companies? One of the main ones is Apple. If you noticed in the news, Apple has not has not had a massive layoff since they were a startup in 1997 when Steve Jobs came back, right? What's the reason for this? Well, first, they have really good leadership, right? Tim Cook is a master of optimization. And they also tend to work a very tight ship, and they also tend to hire based on need rather than just hiring and hiring and hiring. A lot of companies, especially tech companies, will go crazy when it comes to hiring. They'll have these quotas that they want to fill, for example, or they'll just keep hiring. All you have to do is pass the hiring bar, which is their algorithms, and get strong hires and stuff like that, and then you're good. But when I interviewed at Apple, you're not going based on just the algorithms. You're going based on the other candidates. They take a more lucrative, more competitive approach to hiring as opposed to the other tech companies, which is why they haven't been able to. They haven't felt the need to actually do a mass layoff. Now, another thing that you want to look at when it comes to this is you want to take a look at industry, right? What are the most stable industries out there? The most stable industries that are going to be the industries that have existed for a long time and that will continue to exist for a long time. So, for example, anything to do with hardware and manufacturing will still be in demand because, we need hardware to actually run software, right? So if you work for manufacturing, yes, they're not as sexy. Yes, they don't have all the free perks, but that there's going to be always a demand in terms of like B2B companies. These software companies need somewhere to like run their software on. So naturally, they're going to go to hardware companies in order to outsource parts, outsource the CPUs and GPUs and stuff like that. So when you work for a manufacturing company, that's another thing to keep in mind, right? So that's basically some of the ways that you can protect yourself from layoffs is basically just take a look at the product that you're working on in the industry that you're working on. And those are the things that you want and show that you're valuable to the company from a revenue perspective. And those are kind of the ways that you can best protect yourself from layoffs and have the highest likelihood that you're actually going to survive a mass layoff. So I hope that video was helpful. I hope that provided some value to you, and I'll see you in the next video.